Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Right Now podcast. This is a series where you can get a sneak peek at what you can expect to find in San Antonio on May 18th through the 20th for Right Now 2026. It's often been said that the best time to plant a tree was years ago, and the second best time to plant a tree is right now. So, let's take that forward and let's talk about making change and improvement in our firm. Sure, we could have started on this years ago, but the second best time to do it is right now. So joining me today as we talk about what is transforming the profession, what is transforming the industry, and what firms can look for is Andrew McCracken, Vice President of Professional Services at Thomson Reuters. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today.
Derek, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk to the audience.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Let's just take it from the top and let's start with talking about the accounting profession as a whole. You have been around, you see a lot of things, obviously, in your role. What do you think is the biggest change that has occurred for anybody who is listening here in the last 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, great question. It's all about AI, right? And I think that's been the biggest shift over the last 12 to 18 months. But I would say the biggest shift that we've seen is the hype of AI to now the real operational impact that AI is having on professions. I think a year ago it was all about experimentation, right? Skepticism, the fear of it, replacing perhaps resources within the firm. And today, I think the shift that we're seeing is that it's the proof of AI. It's how it's embedded into workflows. It's how it's reducing speed, improving quality. So I think that's the biggest shift we've seen in the last 12 to 18 months is the hype to now the impact.
Yeah, it's we've been on this sort of AI train for let's call it 5 years. Let's just say immediately post COVID, that's when everybody sort of really got into understanding what Chat GPT sort of launched with that first launch of the LLMs. And I think you're right. It felt like for so long it was a novelty. And then it was hype of, no, this thing can really do something for us. And it feels like we're starting to see that actual implementation and outcome based usage of AI as opposed to just sort of input based use. Hey, I'm just going to play around and try something out.
Yeah, it's that agentic AI, right? That's doing more than just responding to questions, right? It's actually doing work. And I think that's the big hype that we've seen, right? And I think it's that we're seeing, this treating of AI more than just a point solution too, right? It's now part of workflow strategy, and that's as we talk to customers and help customers solve problems and create solutions. It's all about now this workflow end to end with AI. Um, and I think you touched on this too, right? It's the impact, right? It's not just measuring the adoption, but actually the impact that it's having on the work that's being done.
So, what are you seeing? I mean, over there at Thomson Reuters, what are you seeing as it relates to AI when you're having these conversations with firms?
Yeah, I think one thing we're seeing is this technology strategy of AI is now the competitive strategy, right? There's so much private equity happening, lots of mergers, acquisitions. Every day we get news, right, of firms that have merged, firms that have been acquired, and I think this AI technology strategy has got to be the competitive edge, right, for these firms to stay ahead. I also think the window that we're seeing, this early mover advantage is starting to shrink, right? I think as we think about, as you open this about the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago or today, I think firms need to realize that this window of opportunity to really stand out in the profession and have a great impact is starting to narrow. And so I think firms need to very quickly um, figure out what their AI strategy is, figure out what their technology strategy is. And so we're excited to spend time with folks here in a few weeks, right, to help be a part of that.
How if someone were to approach you today and say, "I feel like I've missed out on this opportunity. I need to supercharge or super rush or whatever right now." Um, what would be your advice to a firm leader?
I would say it's not too late, right? We've got the right tools. There's tools in the market that are much more advanced than they were several months ago, right? So I would say don't wait another day. Start today, right? I would also tell firms to make sure they're looking for AI that is fiduciary grade. right? This whole the whole piece of having true trusted content behind their AI products, that's where I would point them to, right? Point them to a company that's using AI with trusted content, as that's going to be key, right? Not just trusting any AI engine or AI technology to provide answers and workflow assistance, but really looking at what's backing it, right? What's the piece on the back end?
So you're saying I shouldn't just download the latest open claw off of GitHub and let that thing run rampant through my books?
No, no, I certainly wouldn't. I would say really look for a tool that's going to give you source backed answers, right? And allow you to stay competitive in the market and to keep that trusted hat that CPAs wear, right, with their customers, to not jeopardize the trust that's been built over the 20 years, right, that they should have been planting a tree, as you talked about earlier.
So if we identify a couple of products, whether I know you guys have some AI built in with your products, obviously Rightworks does as well, because everybody's playing around with AI. I don't even that let me pause that. That's not true. Nobody's playing around really with AI. Everybody is including AI, right? We've moved beyond play around. So the tool itself aside, fiduciary backed, et cetera, what should or could a firm leader do today to begin that AI work within their firm to have it be impactful?
Yeah, maybe if it's all right with you, I'll just talk about a few of the products that we've launched. Last year in 2025, we launched a few AI products, one being CoCounsel for tax and audit. We also launched Ready to Review and Ready to Advise. So maybe I'll just share a few things of what those tools can do for customers. CoCounsel Tax and CoCounsel Audit are helping our firms save hundreds and hundreds of hours, right, on research. And maybe I'll just share a few kind of use case scenarios that we're seeing, right? I think we're seeing firms that are using co-counsel tax to really accelerate the answer of questions, helping newer staff get up to speed relatively quickly, right, with source linked answers to really complex federal and state tax issues. We see firms, are using co-counsel tax to draft and pre-review research memos and notice responses, really saving 15, 30 minutes per response to a notice, right? And this over time recapturing hundreds of hours across the practice. I think though, really co-counsel tax and audit is really helping the junior level staff and new staff conduct research more independently than we've seen in the past, right? Where people maybe had to pull in seniors and managers and partners to help in their research. Not the case anymore. So I feel like we're truly empowering these more junior level staffs, improving confidence and responsiveness and freeing up time from, the seniors that they perhaps were going to previously for assistance to really drive more advisory conversations, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's what a lot of this is about, is how do we free up time from the manual tasks, right? So that we can use have better conversations with firms or with customers at the accounting firms. How do we spend time more advising, right? Being creative and helping firms uncover opportunities that really they got bogged down into the grind of the doing before. If AI can take that on, that would be great. I think on the audit side, um, using these tools like CoCounsel for audit to analyze really complex audit materials, right, including board minutes and financial statements, disclosures, large agreements, much faster than ever before. We had a firm that had a 750-page document that needed reviewed as part of this audit. Was able to do it in 3 to 4 minutes, right? Hours before, 3 to 4 minutes, right, for the pieces that they needed to perform that audit. And so also creating templates, right, and disclosure reconciliations and debt agreement analysis, all reducing this manual copy paste effort that may have occurred, right, in previous audit work or copy and paste risk, and really support more of a consistent audit judgment. I'll speak to Ready to Advise for just a few moments. Ready to Advise is really helping to identify client strategies and opportunities. And this, I think, is also providing just more consistent model for firms. Again, pushing some of this more strategic opportunity finding, I would call it, down to our lower lower staff, our junior staff, right? Using this AI to just uncover opportunities. And yeah, those probably do get surfaced up to the partner, but a lot of that anomaly finding and kind of looking into corners that perhaps you didn't see before, letting technology do it for you. And then ready to review, this one's super exciting. I'm actually going to showcase it here in a few weeks. I don't know if I want to give too much away, but really showcasing that we can get a return ready for review within minutes, right? Ingesting all of the data that a client may provide and letting AI completely prepare the tax return, and then it becomes the human involvement to review it and get it prepared, ready to be processed and e-filed. So really taking hours of time off from data input, um, leveraging these technologies.
I love it because everything that I heard you talk about as you were talking about the ready to review, ready to advise, um, co-counsel as well, it was not about replacing humans. It was about taking tasks off of their plate so that they can then step in and have those more meaningful conversations or free them up to be a little bit more, I don't know, diligent for certain conversations, et cetera. It sounds to me like you guys are utilizing AI to try and, I've used this term before, automate the mundane. Is that true?
100%, right? And definitely not to replace, right? But to augment and to um, free up time for the judgment aspects of what it's like as a professional CPA or other tax professional. So, and hopefully allowing people to have a little bit normal tax season. I don't know if I call it normal, but right, there's nothing normal about a tax season. Every tax season seems to get worse and worse. But allowing to be a little bit better work life balance as well, right? And I think we see so many fewer individuals entering the profession, right? So how do we get them up to speed quicker? How can we get them to become, like I said, immediate reviewers almost, right? It's just a different world, I think, in who we're looking for, who we're hiring, and the ability to get them actually providing real measurable impact much sooner.
Now you mentioned you're gonna be demoing, ready to ad which one are you demoing?
I'm gonna do ready to review, and I'll also show CoCounsel Tax. So I think I only have 3 minutes, so it's gonna be quick. But I think I think what's gonna be really important is I'm not just gonna be telling, I'm gonna be showing. And so when we're there at the conference, we're not gonna be talking about hypothetical use cases. We're gonna actually demonstrate real transformation in high stakes tax and audit work. Um, and so I think that's going to be it's what's going to be key. It's not just going to be a tell; it's going to be a show to the audience there.
You said you'll only have about 3 minutes. Well, in that time, you could put a 750
We could,
page document together for review.
yeah, we could, right? We certainly could. So I'm super excited though to show it to folks. We'll be in the booth too that we can show more detail. But these truly are products that are going to transform it. And I'm on the professional services side, so we go in post sale and help firms implement. Maybe I'll speak to that for just a minute if that's okay. Because what we're seeing on the professional services side is usually when we come in, let's say, to implement a tax product, we're typically replacing like for like, right? They're moving from a competitor product to a Thomson Reuters product. And so it's a lot about training, a lot about, new setup and configuration and things like that. And it's pretty easy for a firm. I don't know if it's easy, right? Any transition's hard, but they're replacing like for like tool, right? What's challenging about these AI products is they're much easier to implement, but it's a complete change in their workflow. And I think that's probably where firms struggle the most is they're trying to replace like for like. Like for example, CoCounsel for tax and audit, they may say, well, this is a replacement for Checkpoint Edge that we used to have, right? That allowed us to do research. Yeah, it's that, but it's so much more. And I think that's where a lot of people are not taking the full advantage of these new tools that they're adopting is because they're not looking at, I'm transforming my workflow and I'm going to now be doing different things than I've ever even thought possible before. And so that's probably the biggest challenge for my team right now is how do we get in and really become more change agents and adoption champions and help develop use cases that honestly people have never thought about or never dreamed about. And it's what's exciting as well, right? So I think that's just some advice I would give to people as well as they're implementing. They've got to think I'm not replacing like for like. I'm completely putting in something that has the power if I let it to remove a lot of work, right, as well, allow me to completely transform the workflow.
I had a conversation just earlier this week with a CEO of a very large firm, and we were talking about change management and fear of adoption for something new. And he had a great point. He said, it's not always that people are afraid of what they're moving towards, it's they're afraid of letting go of what they knew. Feeling something new, NEW, was the unknown. And what's interesting about this AI shift is exactly what you said. It's not a like for like. You're actually able to implement completely new processes and workflows. You're not replacing one employee with another employee and doing the same thing. You are literally able to rewrite the books on how your firm operates. I'm sure you guys struggle with getting people to understand that every single day.
Yeah, I think that is our biggest question right now is how do we help people with that, right? You know, I'm a CPA myself. I've been in the profession for several years, and we're hard to we're hard to we're hard to convince, right, of different things. We're a little bit stuck in our ways as CPAs, and maybe stuck a little bit in the dated mindset. But this is new territory for us, and it's exciting territory, and it's exciting to see the people that are jumping in and holding on, that are having great success, right? And I think I just when we started, I just thought, this window of opportunity is starting to shrink, and so we really need to get more people on board. And maybe I'll just say I see the day that in the not too far future where I think a firm will employ more agents, more AI agents than they actually do CPAs or professionals. I know Elizabeth mentioned that at Synergy, last fall, and I completely agree with that concept. Is I think we will see this day where we've again have more agents out there than we do individuals working in the firm.
So, from your seat as you're talking to people post sale doing some implementation, how do you how how does someone measure that they are being successful as they're going through this implementation? Do you have metrics that you tell them to look at? Do you have suggestions for how they should measure their success?
Yeah, certainly. And maybe I'll talk about baseline KPIs, but then really the focus needs to be on these higher value KPIs. I think what most people will measure, and it's easiest, right, is just time savings, right? And that matters, but that's really only the beginning. I would say baseline metrics that firms should be looking at, in addition to time saved per task, right, is really looking at what's the throughput, right? What's our utilization adoption? Adoption right now, I think, is critical that we get users using and taking advantage of the power they have, right? We've just given a ton of power to people when they're using these tools. Are they utilizing them? Also, I think employee satisfaction, cost impact, to me, those are just baseline. Let me share a little bit more about some of the higher value KPIs that I think people should be really focused on. I think we've got to focus really on the quality of the output, but then also the defensibility of the output, right? Making sure we're using tools that have this fiduciary grade, trust backed answers, right? And the defensibility of the output that's coming. Also, I think we need to be looking at fewer dead end research paths, right? Reduced interruptions to senior staff, right? That junior staff can complete their work without having to pull in a senior staff, right? Faster ramp up for our new staff, right? As we pull people in, maybe pull people in with maybe less education in the profession than we used to, based on people that we can find. Can we get them ramped up quicker? Um, Also, I'd say more consistency across teams, especially as we have multi-office firms, right? Mergers, acquisitions. How can these tools bring greater consistency across all the teams so that we're producing from the same kind of same workflow. I'd also say, how can we improve client responsiveness, right? Are we providing more personalized guidance? Are we able to grow in our advisory space, right? Looking at the impact that we're having in the advisory, financial metrics and other measurements there on, are we opening up new opportunities for the firm? Definitely client satisfaction, right? We don't want to just save time. We want higher quality output. And of course, revenue impact through all of this as well. But I think we've got to quickly start looking at the higher value KPIs, right? And seeing that these tools are actually generating so much growth and so much benefit to our customer base, um, that we can't compare it to a like what we thought was a like for like product, right? Because of all these additional features. And I think, I think if I were to sum that up, right, it's not just about doing work faster, but are we delivering better insights? Are we delivering better judgment, right? Which we know the profession is known for, better outcomes and better client value really at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's not about how quickly you can get your product completed. It's about, are you producing better product? Are you making your clients happier?
100%. Yep.
So if you had a crystal ball that you well, I'm going to say you have a crystal ball in front of you. Tell me, what do you see for the next year and a half as you look into that crystal ball?
Yeah, I'll reiterate what I said just a few minutes ago, but right, firms having more virtual agents working in their firm than they do actual individuals, right? CPAs, professionals. Now, I'm not saying reduce the number of CPAs or professionals, but really the number of virtual agents surpassing that, which I think, these tools are going to be handling the manual research, the data extraction, the routine analysis, all of those repetitive tasks that some of these junior level staff have been helping. Right, that really is going to help with the talent shortages and the productivity pressure that all of us are under. Maybe I'll share a few more though predictions. Right, I do think we're going to get back to the basics, which maybe sounds a little bit odd. Right, we're going backwards, but not at all. I think what we can do with these changes in AI is really get back to the basics of being able to provide better judgment, right? Better critical thinking, better counseling for our clients, right? Less time spent in the operational grind, which I will hope will result in, more sustainable tax seasons. I also see the rise of the strategic advisor, right? Lines continue to blur between tax work and advisory work. And so I think as we leverage the power of AI, we're going to surface anomalies, right? Correlations and planning opportunities than we've ever been able to do before. So I think we're going to be able to deliver new bandwidth for more holistic guidance. Um, I think we're also going to see the market increasingly ask, is the output trusted, right? Is it cited? Are the tools built for the level of work and the level of trust and respect the profession has? Is the return on investment going to be measurable, right? I think that's also looking into the future where that's going to be table stakes. That's got to just come with the tools that people are using. So those are a few predictions that I see in the next 12 to 18 months.
Tell you one of the biggest fears that I have is that somebody, whether it's a very large firm or a software producer, that the product, again, either the AI agent work or a delivered audit, et cetera, um, is is caught or light is shined upon a bad return or a bad audit because of the use of AI and somebody put too much trust into that. So I think you're right. I think there's that market move, demand for proof, citation, et cetera, is going to be more important for us, especially in the next few years as everybody begins to adopt these processes.
100%. 100%. It's got to be trusted, right? But I think it also goes back to there's got to be that human involvement still, right? There's got to be the review. Using citations, right? That is part of the output and really understanding the output as well. So
There was an article about a year ago. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was about a year ago. An author who writes syndicated articles for newspapers across the country used AI to help him come up with a list of the top 20 most anticipated books that were coming out over the summer. He never bothered to check to see that his output was actually true, and the first 8 or 10 books listed were indeed actual books that an author was writing, but it was discovered because one of the authors happened to read that and saw that he had a book coming out. He's like, "I'm not even writing anything right now." And that's my biggest fear is that we'll forget or we'll put too much trust in it without that human aspect.
Yeah. And I think that's why, you know, decision makers at firms, right, have got to choose applications that have that fiduciary grade, right? And then keep that human component as part of the work as well, to the lesser degree that it can, right, with the introduction of all of these time saving tools.
So obviously, you're gonna be in San Antonio with us here in a few weeks. Have you ever been to San Antonio before?
I have multiple times. I'm from Dallas,
Okay.
so I'm not too
Oh,
far away, but love San Antonio.
so what should we look forward to? If I'm coming in for the conference and I've never been to San Antonio before, what should I make sure I do while I'm down there?
So I would say go walk the Riverwalk. It's an experience. It's really fun. You can even take a boat on the Riverwalk, and that's a great experience as well. There's also a really fun restaurant down there. I don't know. Have you been, Derek, to San Antonio?
I have. It has been many years. I can say I have been on the Riverwalk, but I have not done much else.
Okay. Well, there's a real fun restaurant down there too called Casa Rio. It's the oldest restaurant on the Riverwalk. It's Tex-Mex. I love Tex-Mex. So that's why I'm looking forward to San Antonio. But a really fun restaurant with all the colorful umbrellas everywhere on the Riverwalk. So that's where I would go. You know, you could also jump over to the Alamo, but it's a great place. Super fun.
Everyone tells me, and I've heard this even before I interviewed people, the Alamo is much smaller in person than you think.
Very small.
Yep. Okay. Swag wise,
Oh,
what
people
is
love their
what is
swag.
what is Thompson gonna have at the booth?
You know, we're gonna have liquid IV to help people stay hydrated. I think we're also gonna have some breath sprays and some pens. There you go, right there,
I
liquid
carry it
IV.
with me everywhere.
So swing by the TR booth. We'll have some more for you. So some essentials to keep you going.
Absolutely. And you need it because these shows, everybody gets moving. You're going, you're up, you're down, you're up all day. It's like make sure you stay hydrated. I coach cross country, and that's the number one thing I preach to my kids is
Yeah.
hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
Yep. So
Okay,
important.
last two questions for you here, and I ask these of all of my guests. So I want you to pretend that we have a time machine right here in front of us, and we're going to step into it. It's going to take us 10 years back, and you're going to come out face to face with yourself 10 years ago. Now, due to time anomalies, we've got 30 seconds for you to impart one piece of advice on your younger self. What is that piece of advice you're going to tell yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. I immediately think, oh, should I talk about what I should invest in, right? But I'll take it a little bit different angle. I think I would coach myself to worry less and learn to say no, right? Don't say yes to everything, right? Keep life a little more simple than maybe I've made it the last 10 years, but worry less. It's going to be okay.
Michael Bungay Stanier, who is a sort of a business coach, always says a no is far better than the best of intentioned yes that you can't follow through on.
Agree completely.
Okay, so now we get back in our time machine and we turn around, come back to the present, and then it immediately takes us 10 years into the future. So you will come face to face with yourself 10 years from now. 30 seconds to ask yourself one question. What are you asking yourself?
I think I'm going to ask myself to give an accounting of how I spent my time, right? Did I use my time wisely? Did I spend my time with family and loved ones? And, did I focus on things that really mattered in life?
And I think at the end of the day, that's what really matters is the things that matter in life. Andrew, I have had a pleasure speaking with you right now. I look forward to shaking your hand in person when we're down in San Antonio because clearly you're a man who understands a lot about AI and a lot about this industry, but also who understands that, it's the little things in life that matter.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. It's been a pleasure to be with you today, and I look forward to meeting you in person as well, and meeting all of the audience as well as we get to see them here in a few weeks. So, looking forward to it.
It's going to be great. And for anybody listening in, just a reminder, you can register for Right Now at rightworks.com/right now. You can join us in May in San Antonio from the 18th to the 20th. We look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much.